Pugh. That'll do it! That will do it! Pugh for Bournemouth! The roof of the Gold Sands is raised! Everyone here knows what that could mean to this football.
Here we are again, eh? Final score from D Court was Bournemouth 1, Cardiff City 2 this evening. New manager, same formation as last time, same philosophy, same story. Look, I appreciate that Woodgate hasn't had time to instill his experience as a defensive coach just yet, but tonight was terrible. Just aside from a brief moment where the players were switched on, Bournemouth were absolute crap tonight against Mick McCarthy's Cardiff. Yeah, Mick McCarthy, a name whose teams are associated with not playing progressive football. It can be really physical. Someone would call him a dinosaur, but I tell you what, their season's not extinct, but ours probably is. What I wouldn't give for a disciplinarian right now. Look, Woodgate hasn't had long. The guy hasn't been able to put his stamp on the team because he never knew how long he'd have in the job. How can you rip up a philosophy when the time that you've got in the job is unknown? Well, Jonathan, now you know how long you've got, and you got 14 games. Is that enough? Of course it's not, because it's a pressure cooker time of the season. You've been landed in a right situation, mate, I've got to say. Tonight, though, for me, wasn't any different to the guy that gave you the phone call to come down to Bournemouth in the first place. So what of the future of AFC Bournemouth? We now sit 7th in the table. A number of fans have been nonplussed tonight at the news that Joe Jordan's going to be around. But you know what? Sometimes I think that some old school management is what's needed, because we've got a squad out there that seems to be so complacent. A team that looks like they've got nothing to prove. A team that lost Tyndall his job and his livelihood, and a team that will probably ensure that Woodgate says goodbye as well. They seemingly don't care. Or is it the fact that they've got no direction? I simply don't know. One thing that I do know is that there are some minimum requirements that are needed in football, and one of them is fight. We don't have it. Players can write as many tweets as they want during the week saying the work starts here, we go again. Please. You've never started this season. Or if you have, it's been very seldom. The last time you went again, when you said we'll go again, that was against Wickham. That was the last time we won 2 league games in a row in front of fans back in December. And even that match, we scraped through as well. I think there's going to be a lot of Cherries fans on here tonight. The reason being is that we know completely what we're capable of. But let's face it, it's not a surprise anymore to see a performance like this. Mark my words, if us fans were at the stadium watching that crap, a lot of players would be ashamed to walk across the car park in front of fans, I swear it. It's not just the players. There have been some questionable managerial decisions this season with formations, and it happened again tonight. We're matching up against teams, in my opinion, unnecessarily. If we trust in our ability, Premier League ability, why don't we believe in our strengths and play a pattern that served us so well for a number of games this season, a number of which were under Woodgate's tenure when he was caretaker? I'm talking 4 out the back. It's scary, the situation we're in, but it's not surprising. We went 3 at the back today, and due to Cardiff's shape and pressing, fair play to them, they did a job on us. We became 5 at the back. Why do the opposition always dictate the play? It's bizarre. This is the free-for-all. This isn't just me. I apologise for going off on one. We've got you that's coming in on the stream, I hope. So what you need to do is go to the following web address. It's afcbpodcast.com/take part. It's going to be some raw opinion tonight. Let's try to keep it respectful if possible. Try not to do what Twitter did last week and call certain players particular 4-letter words. We don't want any of that, but we do want some kind of constructive discussion if we can. There's the link. It's just a case of plugging in some headphones, and then we'll get you in as soon as possible. And if you're new here, please subscribe and give this video a like. But you know what? Let's just bring in Jeff to start off with. And also we've got Mark Jackson and also Tom Jordan here too. Jeff Hayward, go for it. How are you?
Well, it's hard to get worked up about this team, really. So many times we've seen a performance like that this season. last season. There were patches where they were like it. Repeat. So slow, moving the ball, and it takes a 2-goal deficit for us to wake up, and that's again been the story of so many games this season, in particular, where we need a kick up the backside before we start playing, and we always end up falling short. Well, we didn't against Reading once, but most of the time we do end up falling short, and it's not good enough. And I love some of our players individually. I love Big Jeff, but he's so slow in the middle of the park with the ball, distributing it. Number of times that we turn back, you see what a difference Kelly is when he actually runs forward with the ball in the second half. He actually looked quite good, and that's the Kelly we want. Instead, you get the one in the first half who's always sideways, always backwards. Rico, what's happened to Rico? Against Barnsley, he was bloody magic. What's happened to him?
I've never seen someone
give no confidence, has he?
I've never seen a defender give the ball away so much. I don't know how many times it was, but it must have been in double figures tonight. And he's just got the look of someone that is complacent as well. He's just got the body language and the swagger of someone that that doesn't really care. And that's what I feel with our players, that they think they should be Premier League, but they don't want to prove that they should be Premier League. They'll probably get the moves to a Premier League side or a good Championship side. Well, we're not good, by the way.
We're just going to end up mid-table, if higher mid-table if we're lucky. But at the moment, every team we play against knows how to play against us. They play against us. We concede goals. We're not going to win games like that. We're going to get draws, or we're going to lose like we did tonight. It's a fact. We're not confident enough on the ball. We're not confident in ourselves. We will end up going nowhere.
Tom,
but like I say, hard to get worked up. Really,
Tom, you're usually fairly positive about things, but I think that reputation died a long time ago.
There's nothing to be positive about at the moment, unfortunately. And listen, I tried to stay positive at the start. A few results were going our way, weren't playing well, but my concern was always that it's not as simple as just changing the manager. I don't believe in these players. They let Eddie Howe down. Said that numerous times. And then we, it's not all on Woodgate. Feel for the guy in a way. What I will say is I don't understand being unbeaten and then your first defeat is when you change the defensive shape and you just decide to stick with that. Didn't really make much sense to me. If I'm Jack Wilshere, I'm thinking, why the hell have I been brought to this football club when they're not creating anything and I'm sat on the bench? Ben Pearson comes in, gets man of the match, barely see him. Zamora must be sat there thinking, am I ever going to get a chance? Because this left back is the worst left back I've ever seen and I can't get in over him. He brings Dan Juma on. I don't know what he's all about. Apparently he thinks he can get in the Euro squad for Holland. I mean, I haven't got a clue what he's thinking. Fair play to Junior for the goal. But we're playing against all these teams and I'm jealous because I'm watching these teams. They're working at that more up front tonight. Worked his nuts off.
Yeah.
Worked his nuts off. And these players, just the only positive about, because we're no way near we going up. The only positive about that is that means, like we all say, we ain't going to keep this group. Well, fucking get rid of the group. I don't want this group. They're the worst group of players I've ever seen at this football club. People keep telling me how amazing they are and all this quality and all this talent. I can't remember seeing it. They're awful. They go out there and they just go through the motions. For 90 minutes, they do anything. I mean, the first 45, Jeff said it earlier, the first 45, I'm going to start saying to Bournemouth Football Club, when I pay for the stream, can I pay a £5 and just watch the second half? Because we don't do anything in the first half. And then we always look better in the second half. That's normally because the team have got a lead, so they just sat back. But it was absolutely shocking tonight. I mean, no one was any good. And I honestly don't know where we go from here because, like I say, I feel for Woodgate. What's he supposed to do in this period? And we play so many games, you can't get much in on the training ground. I just don't know what we can get out of this group, but at least we've brought in two coaches that are two people that are Richard Hughes' mates as well. So we get a few more of them in. Two people that were with Richard Hughes at Portsmouth have come into the club now. Happy days.
Mark, shocker tonight.
Yeah, you got to agree with what the others have said. I mean, talk about talent. We've got talent in the squad. Everyone knows that, but we're not seeing it. And I'd trade that in a heartbeat for a bit of passion and a bit of anything but talent on paper. I'm tired of seeing it on paper. I want to see it on the pitch and I want to see something else. But yeah, I mean, I tweeted it earlier, but the last bit of passion I think I saw from a Bournemouth player was Dan Gosling saying he wanted to fight for his place in the team. And he's played for a Watford team who are 11 points clear of us now. So what does that say about the squad in itself that as soon as someone shows a bit of passion and a fight to get in the team, they're shipped out. Like, what does that even mean? Like, no one, when mistakes are being made, when the performance is low, you don't see anyone grabbing anyone by the scruff of the neck. You don't see anyone shouting at the players. They just head down, walk back to centre circle, carry on, do very much the same, and then like you've all said, go 2 down, then we wake up. And I'm just a bit fed up of it. The only positive I can take is that I live in the Midlands and I'd have travelled 300 miles to come to that tonight, and I didn't have to do that. So I'm sat on my sofa and I can go to bed soon. So that's one positive to take, I suppose. And like Tom said, these players will be gone next season, fingers crossed, and we can start rebuilding a squad who I'd rather see us fighting in the Championship than somehow get promoted with this group of players and see this in the Premier League, because we would get absolutely battered every week in the Premier League if we play like this. And I don't want to see this squad in the Premier League personally with these players. I want to see a squad who give a shit in the Championship, to be honest. That's what I'd rather see.
You've said a couple of words there. You said, hopefully, you said fingers crossed that most of the squad actually leave. And just those 2 words, I think, are very powerful, because now we're actually wanting them to disappear, which is such a shame, because they have got so much promise. Certain players, Tom, that I feel as though should be, putting in shifts. There are players like, Jefferson Lerma that's, like always puts in a sort of 7 out of 10. But even within today's match, I'm seeing individual moments of certain players. I'm just thinking, why are you doing that? I mean, this is a repeat of, that why conversation that we had last season, Tom. But the corner came across from Harry Wilson for Cardiff's first, and he ducks out of the way. He ducks. Sam Surridge was in the mix. I can only imagine he got a call, but he actually moved out of the way of it. And then, one of the easiest headers you'll have. And fair play. I mean, Cardiff, 2-1. Flatters us. 2-1 flatters us. It should have been 3 or 4. I mean, we had a chance with Sam Surridge nearly scoring, but then so did they. So did they, and Asmir Begovic cleared off the line. But mate, I mean, 2-1's a scoreline that makes us look good.
Yeah, I think it does. I think, if we had somehow skanked our way to a point there, it would have been ridiculous. But I think, the fact is, once they were 2-0 up, they just sat back, and we were always going to have a few half chances. But really, our best chance is someone falling over and Junior hitting a free kick quite well. That's our best chance. We don't get in behind. We don't really do anything. But you mentioned it at the start. We set up in that way. We don't set up like a team that want to have a go. We set up in the most defensive team I've ever seen. Pal, we had on the pitch, we had Sam Surridge up front and then Stanislas in around him. Everyone else is defensive minded. The whole pitch. Give us a bit of a chance from the get go, but. Like I say, but the players just individually aren't doing enough. And as a team, they're not a team. They're not a team at all. Like Mark said, no one's grabbing each other and saying, come on, let's put a shift in here. It's pathetic. And like we said about Gosling there as well, he's apparently Dan Gosling left because he's not good enough for our team, apparently. He's starting for Watford tonight, who've just gone joint second. How is Dan Gosling not good enough for that team? You are having a laugh. He'd walk in our team. Charlie Daniels would walk in our team. And it's unbelievable. Gosling's laughing. He's laughing. In fact, I hope he does well. Fair play to him. And honestly, you look at obviously Watford got a good win tonight, and I look at some of their players. If they're on it, they'll give us a right kicking. Because the thing is, we've been playing poorly and losing games against teams that, don't get me wrong, Cardiff are on a good run, but they're not free flowing. They're not filled with attacking talent. Watford are, and if Watford turn up on the weekend, we could be in for a real hiding.
And I hope it happens, mate.
Yeah, in a way.
In many ways, we deserve a hiding.
The only reason we're not getting hiding is because of the opposition.
Yeah,
that's the only reason, because we're playing teams who still see us as obviously one of the big boys and are getting a goal and then just being happy with it, which you can't argue with. But yeah, it's appalling. I don't really know where we go from here, because we're just going to have to see what happens next season, because it feels like a write-off already. It's not because of the league position. You look at the league, anyone that doesn't watch football and just looks at the league table will say, well, Bournemouth got a lot to play for. But we've seen the eye test all season, haven't we? And it's getting worse and worse and worse. There's no tempo, there's no leadership. There's not really a lot in that team that I like at all. And like Mark said, I'd rather a group of players that look like they care. And like Cardiff tonight, we've seen teams like Rotherham, nowhere near as good as us, but you look at the way they fight and you think, I'd rather that. I'd rather be scrapping at the bottom but have a team that I can be proud of. And I can't remember ever being less proud of a Bournemouth team, and it's really sad to see at the moment.
Jeff, do you feel sorry for Woodgate at all?
I feel sorry because I don't think he knows what he's come into. He didn't know what this group was like. Now he's actually finding out, and I feel sorry for him in that respect. I think the coaching staff are overthinking things too much. You know, we've said before, last 2 games, setting up 3-5-2s, we should be dominating the opposition with that team, playing with confidence, and actually playing with the shape that got us the success. And by thinking, well, what he's doing is actually breeding in another conservative mindset into the players by saying, well, set us up to win 1-0 or get a 0-0, which he did at Forest, which he did at QPR, which he did tonight. And I think that just, with our team, you don't need to do that. They're conservative enough with, you know, when they play 4-4-2, they're passing the ball along the midfield, you know, back and forth without playing it forward anyway. What is the point of playing another man at the back? It just slows it all down again, or, you know, gives us nothing going forward, no threat. And I feel a bit sorry for him. I feel he's finding out, but I also think we needed, you know, look at Pearson, what he did for Bristol City in his first game in charge.
Yeah.
Get somebody like that comes into the club, wins and gets on momentum. Look at Mick McCarthy. You know, they were on the back of 6 defeats. Now they're on the back of 6 wins. And you know, that's what an old school manager who gets the team playing with belief and motivation and energy does. And we're not anywhere near that. And I'm not sure even with this group of players whether the coach could do that, because, you know, Eddie tried last year, and if anybody could motivate these players, Eddie could. He did it for a couple of games on spin, and then it was back to normal, you know. So
that's what I was going to say, Sam, is that it's, as I say, I think it's got to be 90% of it's got to be on the players. What we'll say is Woodgate and Tyndall both, I felt, similarities in the sense that they're too conservative. They've got a group of technically brilliant players, as we all know, one of the best squads in the league and all that. So what it seems like their mindset is, well, we've got such good players, we'll set up quite cautiously because we should have enough. And I think both of them have done that, you know, with this 5 at the back, a lot of them playing quite defensive. I think Woodgate and Tyndall have been similar. And the reason they're both doing that, and it looks so stupid, they haven't got the credentials for this job. That's where it all comes down to. We've employed 2 people that I feel sorry for, because they shouldn't be in a job with one of the best squads in the Championship. How have they got that job?
Yeah.
And the only reason I kind of gave the first one the benefit of the doubt was because Jason had been there for our journey. He's a legend of the football club. And maybe they thought quick transition, you know what I mean? All them reasons we've gone over before of kind of why they done that. To do it again with Jonathan Woodgate, it makes no sense to me. And what do you expect? But it's, like I say, it goes down to the players, but we're setting up in a way that looks like managers that are a bit scared of what to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hate to pick out individual people on chats, but Stefan, I know you seem to be a contrarian. Everything we say every week, you say the opposite. When we're too positive, you bring us on a negative. And now Bournemouth have got the worst form in the league. And now you're saying that we're moaning. Cardiff may have booted the ball upfield, but fair play, they're getting results. Would you not? That's what we should have, right?
Stephanie, come to the player rated show if you want, mate. Do some player ratings.
Seriously, I mean, I hate to bring people up, but I do not understand you, right? Please take part. Explain yourself, because you can tap away, but it won't make it any more relevant. So go to afcbpodcast.com/take part and just have a chat and explain yourself, because within 200 characters, there's not much that you can say that we're going to really take authentically, all right? So please get involved. We'd love to hear from you. It's free. And remember, if you don't agree with us, just watch something else on TV. Right. Jeff, we're going to have to switch it up. Cheers, mate. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no worries.
It was a negative one. Cheers, mate. And Mark, closing points before you go, mate. What the hell do we need to do against Watford to somehow salvage some kind of point?
To be honest, I'm not even thinking about the next game anymore. I'm just thinking about next season. I think going back to the Woodgate point and the Tyndall point, granted, I agree with Tom that the players aren't the right group of players. They're to blame for a lot of it. The thing that comes back to me, and it was said on the previous podcast by I can't remember his name, but we set up our team to adapt to the other team's style of play, and that doesn't make any sense because again, we've got the quality to take it to any team in that league. Realistically, we have. Everyone knows it. But as soon as you start telling those players, the likes of Danjuma, the likes of Stanislas, that you've got to change your game to adapt to their team, what does that say to those players? You're not good enough to play your own game. You've got to change it to play their game. And I just want to see us play our way, have an identity again, because our identity is based on the identity of the other team, and that's just wrong. So I would like to see us just go out, have a team that we know is our 11 realistically, and have a style of play where we take it to the opposition. If we don't win, it's not going to change anything because we're not winning doing it this way. So might as well try and win doing it our way. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least you're giving it a go. So that's what I would do. But I'm not in charge, so who knows?
Yeah. Who would take this poison chalice at the moment? Not me, certainly. Mark, thanks very much for coming on.
Cheers, Sam.
Cheers, mate. And Tom, cheers for coming on, mate.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, agree with Mark there. Let's just, if we're losing anyway, we might as well chuckle the players out and have a fucking go. I want to see Jane Anthony in there. Do you know what I mean? Let's have a go. But
I think it's come to that point now, isn't it?
We're losing anyway, so we're not going to. At least we'll go. All right, you had a go, but enjoy the show, mate.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks. You enjoy your evening.
Cheers,
I'm staying here doing this. Anyway, take care, mate. Thanks very much. Aaron's here as well. Rob is coming in. There's Rob there. There is Aaron coming up, and also Morgan Scott as well. Rob, how are you, mate? Not seen you in a while. All good?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Well, considering, but
talk to me about that.
About what? Where'd you start? Like,
awful.
It's just constant. It's the same thing that we've been going through for the last 18 months. It's just the same kind of half-hearted, going through the motions. Just there's not. But we've said it since Elphick's left, that there is not a leader in that squad, ever.
It seems to be that way. You're right. Well, I mean, Steve Cook is supposed to be one, and I can understand his frustration by the fact he's going on these marauding 30-yard runs up the pitch because he's the only person showing some attacking intent from centre-back. But he cannot be responsible for the mentality of the players who are just lackadaisical. They are so pedestrian. It is unbelievable. Aaron, I mean, what was your take on it?
Yeah, I also don't know where to start, to be honest. The lineup, I'm struggling with the fact that, again, Woodgate's first 4 games with a 4-2-3-1, a formation we've been crying out for some time. And then he changes it for QPR back to a 5, and we're all over the place. He kept with a 5 again tonight, and as soon as the started second half with a 4, it was much, much better. But so that baffled me, and so people say, I feel sorry for Jonathan Woodgate. I don't feel sorry for him for that decision. He made that decision. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. If that is Woodgate football, I don't want to watch Woodgate football. I just don't want to watch it. Because the first half was so negative and turgid. And as I think Tom said earlier, we had Surridge with Stanislas and the other 9 players basically playing defensively. I mean, Kelly and Rico down the left were trying, to go forward. They're both left backs. Billing was prancing around, trying to be creative, but there was absolutely nothing there. And we started and ended the game with arguably our best defensive midfielder and our most creative midfielder sat on the bench. I don't know what Pearson's done wrong because he adds that solidity, which fine, he doesn't have the creativeness we lacked tonight, but he gives us that solidity, which he showed at Burnley and again at Nottingham Forest, where we didn't concede a goal. Let's start with that. So that got me, and don't tell me Jonathan Woodgate is the best option at the football club. I watched that great interview with Mark McAdam, hundreds and hundreds of applications, some of them clearly by nobodies. I get that. But do not tell me that when Bristol City can get Nigel Pearson and Cardiff can get Mick McCarthy and Wagner was free and all these other names. I'm not saying Henry would have been good at all, but do not tell me that Jonathan Woodgate was the best option for Bournemouth currently. Well,
those were the words. Best candidate. Yet there were, CVs from Steve Robinson, CVs from David Wagner, Thierry Henry, John Terry. We don't really know his management credentials, but players, sort of ex-players and managers that have got experience in the game. And we opt for Woodgate. And we're so confident in him that we give him 15 games, Aaron.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, half me does feel sorry for him because, of course, he's going to take the job. He's entitled to take a job. The guy wants to earn a living, and he's trying. I say he's trying his best, but I don't know what went through his head again tonight, thinking that back three or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You saw straight away that Cook and Carter Vickers had a great relationship, and the same way that Kelly and Carter Vickers did, because they know what they're doing. We can't play a three. It did for Tyndall, and I said in the last podcast, it did for Woodgate. Unfortunately, it didn't do for Woodgate because he's there, and we're going to have to put up with it. But if that's his football, then I'd even argue that Jason Tyndall actually tried to attack a bit more than Jonathan Woodgate did. But neither of them, as has been said, are anything like what we needed.
Tom makes a good point that I just flashed up on screen, saying, "Yeah, he's the best candidate if you've got no money." It's just, why do they all of a sudden, why do they even release the names to, make our mouths water by showing us that Thierry Henry is interested and David Wagner? Is it to improve the profile of the club? That's all very well, but if you can't pay him anyway, what's the point in putting those names out there? It seems bizarre. Anyway, Morgan, on the pitch tonight, though, shocking tonight. First 45 minutes. I mean, I keep on saying this every week and it always seems worse, but that does seem like one of the worst 45 minutes that we've had in a long time. It was boring. I mean, the Twitter timeline where people were saying, "I'm falling asleep, this is boring, this is crap," it was just like a relentless amount of tweets that were just all saying the same thing. It was pretty turgid, right?
Horrendous.
Yeah.
Horrendous. There's no other word for it. It was horrendous. From about 3:00 this afternoon, I just received that I'm now qualified in football coaching. Should I go and manage Bournemouth? Because right now they need someone who knows what they're doing, and I think I would do a better job, if I'm honest with you. Because the only positive that I can take from tonight's game that he actually started Sam Surridge. I put out a tweet about 11 o'clock this morning. Hey, in 2 massive games this week, got to play Surridge, 6 points. Out the window. It's completely out the window. How can we sit here and be positive after that? The only decent thing is we could go on and win the FA Cup at Wembley. But apart from that, it's despicable. We sit here making excuses. There's no excuses. I'm going to come out and say it. We have to get the players fighting for that shirt. Otherwise, they don't come to AFC Bournemouth. They just don't come to the club anymore. It's as simple as that. David Brooks, Dan Juma, if they don't want to be here, they can go and find another club and do what they want to do. I'm not disrespecting them. Fair play for what they've done over the season. But right now, they're not performing, and we need 11 men in our football team who can play football and fight for this AFC Bournemouth jersey. And right now, we just haven't got that. It's simply shocking. We got a game against Watford in about 72 hours' time. But why are we going to sit here and be positive? Because we might just go and lose 3-0 again. The only decent statistic I got tonight, Sam, is that we lost. We haven't won 6 out of 9 games, and the watch-along that you and Tom Jordan have been doing, we all won all 3 of them. So we're going to go and win the FA Cup now, aren't we?
Maybe we will, mate. Maybe we will. I mean, Rob,
two things. Two things stick out like a sore thumb to me. One has been mentioned, the work ethic of the players. There's no fight, there's no work ethic, there's no tempo, they don't care, they don't want to be here. I don't know why. I can't work out why that's the case, but it is the case. They don't seem to care. And the second thing is tactical ineptitude, because we've said time and time again, what they did second half, Stanislas goes to the right where he's just not effective at all. Danjuma goes on the left where he hasn't been. I would put Stanislas on the left, put Danjuma up top, try something different. Billing moves back to the defensive midfield position because Lewis Cook goes off, and that's where we know he's just horrendous and his best is going forward. It's just like round pegs and square holes again. And without trying to give Jack Wilshere something to create, it just baffled me. But it's just, we as fans could pick whether you want a 4-2-3-1, whatever formation you want. I think we as fans knew before the game that formation wasn't going to work. The personnel wasn't going to work. And if we as fans can see that, how on earth can the management team, all of them I'm talking about, not see that?
Yeah, a lot of us, Rob, turned our noses up at Nigel Pearson and managers of that ilk.
I was always for Pearson. Just for someone who could throw a tantrum, give some attitude. Because, like everyone said, these players don't care. I genuinely would miss 3 players if they left.
Yeah.
There's just no one cares. You're like, when we were kind of touting out Brooks for 40 million, no one's going to pay 40 million for David Brooks. No one.
I wouldn't pay £1 for him right now.
Well, no, he's in the medical room anyway, isn't he?
Yeah.
But you look at, like, obviously Dan Juma, the best Dutch striker in the world. Yeah. But you just look at, there's just no kind of passion. There's no sort of, I genuinely, I put a tweet earlier saying, like, we lost players like Sermon, Daniels, Gosling, and Hugh, Francis. You're looking at, a drop in quality on paper, but the amount of times where you said ability trumps kind of talent, if talent's not putting in the in the effort or anything like that, you just kind of, it's just all a bit. So I genuinely can see a massive reshuffle in the summer. I genuinely think we're going to lose double figures in players.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think the other question is, like, this Ryan Fraser syndrome spreading really quickly.
Yeah, it's contagious, mate.
Who take the players though? I mean, everyone thinks we're going to lose the player. Who's going to take our players?
Can I just also interject and just make the point? People have been saying, where are the youngsters? We got a team of players that don't want to play at the moment, and they don't want to fight and give everything to get back to the Prem. Why aren't we playing Anthony Samora? Why has he not even been given an opportunity? Young under 21 international, or Gavin Kilkenny, Roro Riquelme. He's just come over here to sit on a bench. It's just a waste of time. We have to try something different. And if someone's not performing, you drop them. As a manager, you have to make that decision. I don't mind if it's Jason Tyndall or Jonathan Woodgate. Woodgate's got to start being brave and say, you're not performing. You're out of my 18. You're not performing. You're on the bench. And because it worked with David Brooks for 45 minutes against Reading, didn't it? He didn't start, and then he got dropped to the bench, and then he came on and he gave a decent second half performance. It was still a 5 out of 10, but whatever, it was better. So something's got to change. And if you're not going to play the youngsters, then why? How are we ever going to move forward as a football club? Because you look at the likes of Phil Foden, he's been given the opportunity and he's excelled under Pep Guardiola. I know we're not Manchester City, but they got the opportunity to be proper key footballer. Look at Sam Surridge. He's probably arguably one of our best players this season at 22 years of age. And it's despicable why we sit here week after week and we talk it through. And you can go on about formations and tactics and all that, but it doesn't matter. If you can't play the football basics, 5-yard pass, trap back, man mark, you just can't play football. It's as simple as that. And you don't play, you got to be passionate. While I was watching that game, I was heading every ball. I was trying more fight than half of them players did tonight, because that's what you do. We're fans, we're not players. But to be honest with you, I would quite like to go down there tomorrow, watch a training session, and hey, right, this is what you're doing correct, this is what you're doing wrong. On something's got to change, and hopefully these new 2 coaches come in tonight and they're actually going to offer something different. I tried to be passionate like TJ, but after this performance yet again, how can we sit here and be positive when you're watching just nothing? It's just nothing. It's enough to send anyone to sleep.
Yeah, it's not great. Morgan, thanks very much. We're going to swap it up because there are so many people waiting. Cheers, Morgan. Scott, also Rob, thanks for coming on, mate. Hopefully I'll have you on again soon. Maybe in better times, eh?
Well, it's not looking likely, is it?
No, not this season anyway.
See you later, lads.
Take care, buddy. And Aaron as well. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Sam. See you soon.
Cheers, mate. Right, okay. So there is space in the room if you want to get involved. But what I'll do is I'll put the link on screen a little bit later because we don't want to overload the room, because at the moment there's a lot of people still to get through. And one of the people that is in the room that I'm going to bring in is Kirk Tovey, who's with me. And he's going to be joined by John Spark, but someone who's been hanging on for very long, since the very start of the show, is Daniel in Florida. So Daniel, we'll give you a chance to get your say in first, and then we'll swap you out for someone. Daniel, how are you?
Good. How is everyone?
Crap. That was poor Daniel. 2-1 to Cardiff, and they as good as outplayed us today.
Yeah, and I said it in Kirk's channel. I said that we're going to lose 2-1. I said the players don't show it, and I said it, and they didn't do it. So I wasn't too surprised, but because Long scored, I'm just going to say, because Long scored, most likely Sam's not going to start.
Well, yeah, it's the kind of Harry Wilson thing, isn't it? Like, he didn't exactly have great games for us last season, but he kept on banging them in, always a threat from a set piece. And, Shane Long, what's that, 2-2 now? I bet it'll be wild chuff. That improves his goal scoring record by about 5,000%. Kirk, unload it.
I don't know where to start. Do we start with a weak board that's not brave enough to make a decent decision? Do we start with a manager that's just replicating the last manager and not brave enough to make a decent decision? Do we start on the players that are not brave enough to go against the manager that's not brave enough? And they're just, we got attacking creative players in our team that are under lock and key, and we're just playing the ball. Do you know what? You look at the first 5 minutes and Steve Cook has the ball. And he gets the ball just inside our own half. And he asks Lerma, he points to tell Lerma where he wants him to stand. We're like a rehearsed pantomime for Christmas. We play so rigid that we have no creative, interactive spark in our team, that it's so predictable, it's unreal. And I honestly, Woodgate was never the right man, and how he's got himself in this position. And we've now got Gary O'Neill, who's nothing against Gary O'Neill, but he's another player that's not really forward-minded. I mean, I don't know what Joe Jordan's going to offer, but I said at the start when we had this opportunity that we've got players in our team that can hurt teams. But if we're not going to set out that way and we're not going to use their ability, then he just set up. He lost the game before the game had kicked off. When Mick McCarthy saw that team line up and saw 3 centre-backs and saw him go to, and he just matched him, he was like, done, we've won this.
Yeah. John, you saw some positives out of that Queen's Park Rangers match, which I think credit to you for doing that, because not many people could. And when I look back afterwards, I thought, maybe you are right. Maybe that match did almost turn on a knife edge, but tonight, are you able to do the same or not really?
No, I can't. Unfortunately, I'd love to be there, because especially as I've had 1 or 2 people just talking about, they're like, I bring some positivity, but it's very difficult after a performance like that. I think one of the main things I'd sort of pick out for me was what other people have said before is the seeming insistence on the last 2 games. We started with a back 3, seemingly, or back 5, as most people would probably prefer to say how we play, seemingly to set up against an opposition's defensive or back 3 or back 5. And I can understand the idea that if you want to put a strong element of tactics into your gameplay, and if you want that to be something that your team takes forward, then what that does is it forces one-on-ones on both wings. Really, it forces your left wing back against their right wing back and vice versa. The issue with that is that your player needs to be better than the other player, and then you can come out winning those duels. And right now, I wouldn't put Rico against any right wing back in the league. And Adam Smith, as hard as he can work, just isn't necessarily going to be able to combat some of the bigger players that often play on the left wing as well. And I mean, to be fair, he does better at defending on the right than Rico does on the left. You've only got to look at the penalty he gave away for that. But it's the insistence on seeming to change the way that we play to match up against an opposition setup. And that is just not necessary for a big team in the league. Now, we're not obviously size-wise, we're not, well, I mean, from the first goal we conceded, we're definitely not size-wise one of the biggest teams in the league. Yeah. But I was having a look back, and one of the things that really, a stat that really sort of jogged in my memory was our first Premier League season, 2015-16. I remember reading at the time about Dan Gosling breaking the record for running the most in a match. At 12K, I think he ran over in one match. And I think that still stands as a record, I'm not sure. But Bournemouth themselves ran more than every single other team in the Premier League. And every week I would see running stats come up. And Bournemouth was running more than the opposition, but still had 2, 3, 4, 5 more % than the opposition, possession more.
Yeah.
So the ball, you're able to do more with the ball, and you're still running more. Like that was the effort that we all saw and we all expected from the Bournemouth side, because we're used to seeing a Bournemouth side in League One, in League Two, or the equivalent, where it doesn't matter what day you turn up, it's a fight. if you're not mud wrestling on the pitch by the end of the game, something's gone wrong. Like, it was always a battle. You always expected your team to put everything on the pitch. And, you know, we're just not getting that from these players. It's like Lewis Cook's annoying me at the moment with the amount of times that something goes wrong and he just stands there and goes, and then jogs backwards. Shane Long does a lot of jogging on the pitch that I'm annoyed at as well. But it's just the effort, the amount of effort that I'm just not seeing from these players. And the manager isn't helping, because the manager's saying we need to change how we play in order to stop them. We have enough on this team quite comfortably to outplay our opposition. And like another stat from the first season of the Premier League, Leicester obviously won it. They made fewer changes to the lineup than anyone else. We made the second fewest. We had the same line out unless there was an injury every single week. Doesn't matter how infrequently we played or frequently we played. And this, it's like Shane Long and Sam Surridge are changing every week, every game, every half a week they're changing. It's just, he's not helping the team in the way that he sets them up. And he's clearly not able to shove a rocket on their backsides when they need it.
Sam, you know, I'm not a professional football manager, but if I got the job like Woodgate did, I'd have a look at what JT did wrong to lose his job. And if he looked at that, he'd realise that JT dominated pretty much every match with 60% possession, not winning football matches. And also that he didn't utilise that attacking team. We've said to Woodgate, and enough people have said to me, do you know what? You can't compare Middlesbrough to Bournemouth. It was a different team. Really? They scored 46 goals in 46 games. They had players like Asumbalunga, Johnny Howson, Ashley Fletcher. They weren't that bad. They were the least goal scorers in that league. We're seeing a Woodgate team here that's very similar to the Borough team, playing in a similar way. And he had 41 games at Borough, etc. But he's doing the same things. He's playing a back three that struggled all season. He's not. We're playing slow, predictable, boring football in front of our opposition. I don't get. I would understand if there were fans in the stadium and he was a bit scared of getting some flack from some fans for sticking out Jadon Anthony and Samura. But he hasn't got that pressure. He's got 15-game contract. He's effectively interviewing for the job. And he's just doing the same things that JT's doing. And JT didn't have the bottle to change it up. And he's doing the same thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. We are going to swap because there's a lot of people looking to get on. Kirk, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. It was relatively short. Nice one. That's Kirk Toby.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you, mate. And also John Spark as well. Cheers, mate.
No problem. Cheers.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate there's more that people want to say, but I've only got a limited amount of time. But thankfully, there's more than one YouTube channel now to share the lows, Twitter, the Vitals forums. Daniel, end it with some kind of positive if you can. I mean, I know, I appreciate it's like very difficult, but you know, how can we get something against Watford?
Well, we saw today that Watford, Blackburn was kind of close of drawing with them. So I'll say if we score the first goal and then we do what they did today, we score the first goal, and then at the second half we focus more on defending. So first half attack, second half defend, and if we draw or because Watford is doing really good, draw or win is our main key the weekend.
You said it well, Daniel in Florida. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Right, we'll pop the link on the chat very soon, but there's so many of you waiting to get on. It kind of spreads the load if I paste it a bit later on. So be patient. I will bring you in. Right, next we are going to have Keith Thomas, who's here. Keith, you right?
Yes, steady as we go, Sam. Steady as we go.
We've also got pod regular Neil Dawson here as well, who I'm sure is going to let loose on what we saw tonight. And also, who else have we got? Ben that's standing by as well. Steve Hensman was about, but he'll be there a bit later. Neil, I'll come to you first. What was that tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what it reminded me of. I'm probably maybe Keith's done this because we're of a similar age, I guess, but walking football. So you know that the game that you play when you get to a certain age, Sam. Not like you that can still thunder around a six-a-side pitch, but
questionable.
I had my first experience of walking football last year, helping a mate's team out, and as I was thinking, I've never seen anything like it. But tonight I did. Tonight I saw walking football live in action. So where you stroll around, you slide the ball backwards, you walk to the next point, you slide the ball backwards. I get really fed up hearing Willow talk about how hard other teams work. They don't work hard. They just work like football teams. There's not some mystery. The Championship is a league where you win the battle, then you go on to win the war afterwards. And I just think we've accumulated a lot of players that aren't suitable for it, but are still by far and away the most talented squad, but they might not be necessarily Championship players, I guess. And what I don't understand is we then don't set them up in the correct way. So I think everyone said exactly the same thing listening to the first 40 minutes of this. Why on earth you would have the amount of wonderful midfield players that we've got and start to overload the back with 5, which is exactly what Jason Tindall did. And we've got no width, and it is just so painful to watch. And you'd think a management change would do something about it. And all these new coaches that we're bringing in, are they on 3-month contracts as well, or what's we're just sort of like overloading with coaches, average coaches that not done much elsewhere?
I don't know. It's almost like they're chucking, so much average stuff at the challenge, and they're hoping some of it will stick somehow. A bit like, when they, employed Eddie, just like hoping it would work. And thankfully, he is like a freak of nature, and he was the one person that has carried the team through, the board through, and now we're in a sticky situation, and now the board getting found out, it seems. Keith, I mean, Woodgate, I do feel sorry for him, though. I do feel sorry for him throughout all this. Yeah. Do you?
Not for tonight's performance, no. It's unbelievable that he should have seen the Queen's Park Rangers game and say, right, let's try and play our way. We tried to suggest a formation on Kirk's channel. Pearson, what does the man have to do? This was a game screaming out for him, for the physicality. We've got Wilson running around causing all manner of havoc. You would have thought elementary scouting and coaching would have picked that up, but what do we do? And everything that was predictable from a McCarthy side came out tonight. I mean, it was men against boys, with the exception of CCV, who had a real battle with Moore up top. But do we not know about Wilson's delivery on a set piece? Do we know not how to mark? Are we zonal marking? Are we man marking? Are we just standing around looking at each other like lost souls? And it's bits and pieces. There's no fluidity. There's no impetus. It's gutless. And I don't know how to change it. People are saying, what should we do about Watford? It's what should we do about the rest of the season? Because I think tonight we've just seen it all slip away. I really got that horrible feeling, and I don't know going forward. We won't get relegated, but we're going to be safely mid-table and onwards and upwards, or downwards, should we say. Yeah,
Ben, we... in 2014, 2015, we saw a team that individually were all right players, and they were greater than the sum of their parts. It's completely the other way around this season, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree. No, first of all, thanks for letting me come in on the show. Right. Massive fan of you all. Hope you're well, Keith.
Thank you.
No, I was just going to say, literally, as a fan of Bournemouth throughout the years, it's just seeing the club going down and down and down. I looked today and I looked at that lineup straight away and I thought, why are we playing like the 3 but with the wing backs against Cardiff? I mean, if you're playing against Man City, Liverpool last year, I agree, but it's just 4-4-2, back to basics. I agree with Keith. Straight away I was looking at that. Pearson should be, this game is going to be a slug. It's going to be a fight, a battle. It's all about passion from the players, And I look at Lewis Cook and, you look at like Pack and you look at Flint and you look at them kind of players, they've got massive height advantage against someone like Lewis Cook. With Pearson, he'll rough him up a bit, boss out midfield a bit. And then, Lewis Cook hasn't been delivering this year with regards to, providing creativity for the forward players. So, with his with Pearson, I've watched a few videos of him for Preston, and he looks like he can pass. He looks like he can tackle. He's got passion. He had a man of the match performance against Burnley, and well, other than Billing, but you just kind of think, like Kirk was saying, I don't know what the management look week in, week out, because as fans, we know kind of our system that we should be playing. We know the players that should be playing. And I just feel majority of these players, other than Cook, Smith, some of them will be quite happy to leave at the end of the season, get a new club, and it'll be ourselves as fans that'll be hurt the most, because we'll be going through the rebuilding system and trying to get a new manager in.
Yeah, cracking point, mate. Cracking point. Thanks so much for coming on. We are going to switch up sort of pretty quickly tonight. So yeah, appreciate you coming on, mate. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
Take care.
no worries, mate. Nice to have you on the channel. That was Ben there, and Neil, we'll keep you on for a little bit. Keith, though, I'll give you some kind of closing comment about what the hell we need to do ahead of Watford. I mean, at what point do we just blood the youth and think, you know what, scrap the season, let's just put people like Zamora, Jayden Anthony on? At what point does that come, or is it not yet?
Well, it should come, but it's appearance clauses, isn't it, in contracts? And Neil, in the last few podcasts, he's been spot on with that. What has been written in the contracts for these guys to get played week in, week out, whether they're inform or not? And that's something that is so odd. Why did we sell Namdi? I have no idea at all. There's a lot of strange decisions going on, and it's going to be interesting in the next 15 games how this will really pan out and what we're going to do going forward. But can I just recommend Mr. Dawson on Vitals, best sports writer when he does his match reports. Read that; they're absolutely fantastic, and I've been meaning to say for the last decade or so, Neil. Thanks for that, and Kirky's channel as well. But we've got to stick together. Dark times, Cherries fans. Dark times indeed.
And you know what? Who is it? Like, was it Einstein that said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing time and time again and expecting different results? Are we going to go 3 at the back again against Watford, Keith? Probably.
I have no idea what our squad's going to be like. I have no idea who he's going to pick, because if you put someone who isn't playing well and replace him, that player doesn't play well. And poor old Sammy Surridge tonight, it was just a lone figure up top. It was painful to see. And you would have thought with a Stanislas Payne as a 10 behind him, he might help him out, but it was 6s and 7s, and I'm afraid they're just playing for themselves now, and it will take some of the stature of Brian Clough to come along and do that, and I don't think we can resurrect him from the grave at the moment. So,
no, very well said, Keith. Thank you very much. Nice to see you again.
See you later, Sam. See you later, Neil.
Cheers. Take care. That's Keith in Milford there. So we're going to bring in Steve Hensman next, and also Alex, who's got something to say. Someone said that let's bring him in ASAP. It's only audio only for Alex, but Alex, 2-1 today at Dean Court for Cardiff. What do you make of it?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, sorry about not having a cam.
No worries.
What to say about the performance?
Yeah,
it was awful, to be honest. First half, it was a genuinely dreadful first half. You know, we just don't play like we want to win. There's no passion in the squad. To be honest, I don't think the players have any respect for Woodgate whatsoever. I don't think he can get a hold of this team. I think appointing Woodgate is one of the worst decisions ever made. Why would you appoint Woodgate after he loses to QPR? It doesn't make any sense, but, you know.
It seems like it could be a financial thing, which is, what I said earlier. Like, well, if it's financial, why are they putting all these big names out and about that are obviously going to want some kind of transfer budget, that are going to want big wages, that want huge contracts for 3 or 4 years or whatever. Instead, we give it to a guy for 15 games. It doesn't make sense. Steve, dreadful tonight, eh?
Yeah, mate.
I think I'm going to go off and do my badges because they seem to be, any old clown can get them, can't they? Oh, mate, I'm just angry. I'm angry. I'm not disappointed because there's nothing to be disappointed about. It's just pure lack of intensity, desire. Everybody said it. I mean, what on earth are you changing back to a system that hasn't worked? I don't understand. He come in and he picked a formation that we've sort of all been crying out. Well, some of us been crying out for, and it seemed to do a job. And then you go tinkering around with it, I mean, for no apparent reason. I mean, what's he trying to? Is he trying to? I mean, it seems to me like he's trying to not lose games rather than go and win games. That's what it feels like to me.
Well, we used to do like 3 at the back against sort of Man City or whatever, but maybe kind of Woodgate, Neil. But perhaps he's kind of noticed how the players seem to be like mentally shot and just think, well, at least if we try to get more solid at the back, then maybe that'll kind of inspire the rest of the world. Like if we keep a clean sheet, then probably we'll nick a goal. That's what it seems like to me. But we're not in the Premier League anymore. Like no disrespect to Cardiff, they are a good side, but they're not exactly pulling up trees to be in the position that they're in. They've got Mick McCarthy there, who's a manager that's probably earned the respect of the players as soon as he's kind of walked in the changing room. But why are we matching up to teams like Cardiff's formation? Why are we doing that?
I don't know. I think there's a sort of a set of managers that know how to get out this division, and they organise teams. They line them up in a certain way. I always feel sorry for them because they always lose their jobs, don't they, within about 3 or 4 months of going up. It's like a revolving door, but people know what they're good for and use them for that. Neil Warnock, Mick McCarthy, people of that ilk. But what they do is they just get a team organised and play to its strengths. And we're not organised and we're not playing to our strengths. And that doesn't matter what talent you got on the pitch at the end of the day. But I think what Jonathan Woodgate's done is he's matched to people. I think you asked someone, what will he play against Watford? I'd imagine he'll play 4-4-2. Not because we played well in the second half, but because he will match up against Watford. I think Watford have a back four. In every game he's managed us, he's matched the formation that the opponents have played. So when we played with 4 at the back in the first 2 games, we were playing against teams that played 4 at the back. And then the last 2 games, he's matched it. So whether if you were being kind to him, maybe he's not as convinced maybe as the depth of talent in the squad as us. And what he's thinking is, I'll try and match up. But I mean, it's a really... that's the kind of thing you do when your squad's inferior, not when your squad's superior. Maybe Joe Jordan. I mean, Joe Jordan is not a 3 at the back man. He always managed with Harry. Harry always had a back 4. He was a manager himself, Joe Jordan, for years, wasn't he? At Bristol City, they always play 4-4-2. So maybe his influence watching from the stand, maybe he'll say, look, you're wasting your time with that. I mean, to have the players that we've got not getting on the pitch because we're playing 5 defenders, and to have Smith, who cuts in, and Rico, who's just poor, as your width outlets. It's just crazy. So, it's bad. It's hard enough when you've only got one playing wide anyway. But when they're not players that are natural wide players, it's just you get that whole condensed play in the middle of the pitch, look slow, lose the ball. I mean, it's just screamingly obvious to anyone that's got half a football brain, which is why it's such a worry that 2 managers in a row haven't seen it.
Yeah, very good points. Neil, thanks so much for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
See you later,
See you soon. Cheers, Neil. Thanks very much. And Alex, just before we go, give me a crumb of comfort from that performance. What was there good to see tonight? I suppose there was that kind of 5 minutes before we scored, right?
To be honest, I didn't really see much good at all. I thought it was a pretty boring performance. Yeah. And I just want to say something real quick. I think our season went downhill when we got rid of Jack Simpson. I thought he was having a class season and we just got rid of him.
You're not wrong, actually, because, when he was involved, I think we had a number of clean sheets in a row, actually. And then, I know he's derided by a number of fans, but, at the end of the day, if you've got like Steve Cook and, someone else alongside him, I don't know who, like, Cameron Carter-Vickers or whatever, even Lloyd Kelly, Jack Simpson wouldn't get a look in, but he did do well for us. And, you make a good point. Players that I would like to see more of that I can't, obviously, like Jack Stacey, like players like him, because I know that he always gives something to the team. But, you look at certain people that you've always looked at to carry the team through, and you're just not witnessing it these days, and they just seem mentally shot for whatever reason. Alex, thank you so much again. Will, by the way, has said you've been a breath of fresh air, and you've been very spot on, said him. So yeah, cheers, Alex. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Nice to see you. And nice to hear you at least. Reese and Filippo are going to finish the show. And Filippo, your emojis there say it all.
Yeah. Yes, honestly, I'm trying to be as polite as possible, but it's not possible when you say stuff like tonight. But before talking about the game, I want to say another point, because the week started with the news that Jonathan Woodgate was appointed, and I was a bit confused because this is not a choice that a board who wants to clean the table or who has fallen apart and has to this is not a choice that a board like that would make. So and in fact they talk with some manager names where there were names, so there were made some names. So I was really surprised from this choice. They wanted to risk everything on Jonathan Woodgate, but I don't know if this is the right choice, honestly.
Yeah, Morgan says that you speak the truth. Now, Reese, hope you're doing all right, mate. We did a fan story with you on this channel, and one of the things you said, like to become an actor. Seems like you've already got the job because you come off the set of Emmerdale in your hat there, mate. Looking really good. How are you, mate?
Not many people know this, but Reese's last name's Sugden.
yeah. There's somebody who watches. Reese, I mean, that was.
Do you know something? Do you know we've been robbed 17 points. We have been robbed 17 points. Yeah, 17 points in the championship. You know, of all the draws, all the losses, we've lost that last minute. I've looked at all the games and everything. We've been robbed 17 points.
We weren't robbed. We gave them away.
Yeah, robbed. Robbed.
We gave them away.
I got one thing the board needs to do. It's time to go!
A lot of people are not happy with them. And, you know, why is that then, Reese? Why are you unhappy with their decisions? What, you know, should they have kept Tyndall or should they have employed someone else? What are you thinking?
First of all, we did what we did with Jason Tyndall. We went cheap. We should have appointed Nigel Pearson. He has experience going through shit like that. He went to Bristol. Look, he went to Bristol City, won 3-1. He has. Look what he did for Watford last season. I've been supporting this club for some time now, and I've been realizing something. We're not using our youth that much. You see clubs like Reading, Watford, Manchester United. I know Manchester United, a massive club, but I'm just giving an example. Yeah, we barely use our youth. It's only like we only let Sam Surridge in to start. We don't let Anthony start. We don't let Zamora start. I don't know what the fuck is going on because truly and honestly, I'm tired of this shit. I watched the first half. As soon as I saw the penalty went in, I just turned the TV off because I'm done with this bollocks. I'm sorry, yeah. We're literally Portsmouth v2. Portsmouth v2. This is slow. We're gonna slowly go down the leagues and go where we belong, and that is League One. We are not going to stay in this league either. There's literally no hope because I honestly feel sorry for Woodgate. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with the players. I actually don't know. I don't know what's wrong with what's going on financially, because you get 100 mil for getting relegated from the championship, and plus the money what we got from the players. So I don't get why we couldn't fork in a decent manager or fork in some players who want to fucking fight for the club. I don't care. I just want the players to fight for the badge only. I don't give a fuck about the players because I've actually lost my patience. Like Keith said, there has been a rot for 18 months.
Slowed down a little bit there, which is a shame. But I'll keep you in, Reese, because I think it's probably that your process is going a bit weird. It's probably on an iPad.
It wasn't a rant.
Yeah, that's right. What we'll do, he's back. He's back. Say what you're about to say. Go on. You're back, hopefully. You're gone. I think we're just... we're unmuting and muting each other at the same time. We're playing microphone mute tennis.
My internet went to shit, but it's been like that for ages. But the point is, I just don't understand. Just let Brooks, Danjuma, look. Just let them.
Mate, it's happened again. It's happened
they want to look at Reading. Yeah, they don't have the quality.
Yeah.
Reading don't have.
Unfortunately, mate, you're pausing for some reason. So whilst your thing just sorts itself out, Steve, were you nodding or shaking your head in agreement or disagreement then with some of the things he was saying?
Yes and no. I mean, it's difficult to. I mean, the board thing. I mean, I'm running out of patience with them big time. I mean, it's just been mistake after mistake, hasn't it? Really. I don't know how qualified they are to be making these decisions. I mean, I think we've said it before. They've never really had to make tough decisions like these with new managers, really, have they? They've had it easy with Eddie.
They have,
yeah, exactly. It's been, they've been riding on the coattails of Eddie's success for so long, and now the shit's hit the fan, and they've got to actually prove their worth. And so far, they've disappointed, and they keep making wrong decisions. So I don't know how. Like you say, is it time for Neil Blake to, say goodbye, or is he just too in there with Maxim? I don't know.
Just need someone that understands football up there, someone that understands the game.
Exactly,
and has experience of challenging times. Whereas, they've been, as you say, they've been riding the crest of a wave.
I mean, everybody we've got around the club is really inexperienced. Let's be honest. In these sort of situations, the coaching staff, you've got Jonathan, and we've just brought in Joe Jordan, so I suppose that's something. But really, they're all pretty much inexperienced backroom staff. It's just a little bit deflating at the minute.
It is. Reese, a couple of people on chat a little bit offended, so apologies if you're offended by Reese's swearing.
Goodness sake, Reese.
It is frustration. It's past the watershed. So, these kind of shows that are on quite late, I would probably say not for children if you've got them of a certain age in the background. But yeah, I appreciate you're offended. So apologies for that. But anyway, Reese, I'll give you a final point.
I'd like to apologise. It's just I'm quite annoyed for the last couple of weeks. Like, Sam, you don't have to apologise for my point of view. No,
it's what we'd be doing in the stadium, mate. It's exactly what we'd be doing in the stadium. There would be a lot of work. There'd be worse words online than like.
I know, but I'm almost an adult and I shouldn't be swearing in front of children. I honestly take responsibility for that. It's kind of a bit childish. No, it's just that the fact that I don't know. I asked when I'm working, I ask my boss if I can go have my break at 3:30 or 3 o'clock to see what the score is. Listen to Chris Temple and BBC Radio Solent, and I look at the notifications. I hear what's going on, and I've paid for something. I just want my money back because I don't know what's going on with the club at the minute. Because you know what, yeah. This club is just Eddie Howe. Like, we're nothing without Eddie Howe. Do you remember I forgot the manager's name before Eddie? You know when Eddie went to Burnley and I forgot his name.
Groves.
Don't know if you remember his name. Groves.
Yeah. Or Lee Bradbury. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. Before that. Yeah. Just beforehand. Yeah. Paul Groves. That was a similar thing, though. That was a similar thing. We had some really good players, but they just weren't playing. But then someone then came in and made them play. So you're just wondering, maybe it is the manager in this situation. I don't know. We are going to have to wrap it up, mate. Reese, I appreciate you halfway through making a point, but we are nearly towards the end of our slot. So Reese, thank you so much for coming on. Love the passion. Love the hat. Next week, I want to see you in a top hat. All right? Cheers, mate. Filippo, you finish this one off for us, mate.
Yeah, Sam. Just wanted to to continue the speech about the players, because they have completely been covered by the pressure of going up. And now, what's possible thing that could happen to them that is that they can get furious, so they can get frustrated. Sorry, and they start picking fights like Philip Billing did in the second half. That it's really the final worst possible thing that could happen to us.
Yeah,
That's really.
No, you're right. No,
Yeah.
Felipe.
Now,
thank
yeah,
you.
on Saturday, what
Big
will
game.
happen? I
Oh, my
really
God.
don't know. Yeah, I really don't know what to expect. I'm already thinking about Bristol City away on next Wednesday, because it's just already written.
Mate, people were loving you in chat. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys. Thanks,
Top man.
Up the cherries, even in darker times.
Top man. Filippo there, fan of AS Roma and AFC Bournemouth. I wish I supported a good team. We're not at the moment. Steve, you're flicking with your angles there. I don't know whether you're landscape or portrait. You keep on flicking.
For some reason, my internet keep freezing, and I have to keep coming in and out.
No, well, just like the players tonight, stunted and pretty awful. Watford,
I mean, just one. Yeah, Watford.
Yeah.
If I was Woodgate.
Yeah.
Well, I know. it's written. You can already see the headlines, can't you?
He started tonight, though, so hopefully that means he's being rested against us. But yeah, sorry, what were you saying? If you were Woodgate,
I mean, if I was Woodgate after that, I mean, I would. We touched on it last time. We said don't worry about the league. I think we can pretty much forget about that now. Forget about promotion. Forget. I don't think as long as I got a hole in my arse, we're going to get promoted this season, and just focus on playing football. And that's all he needs to do. Get them together. Get the ones that, eke out the ones that don't want to put in the shift. I mean, somebody said earlier, I think it was Neil, said that they didn't really put in a shift tonight. But I thought you looked at Kiefer Moore by the end of that game today, and he was absolutely puffing. And I looked around at our players and I thought, well, that says it all, really. And just get out there and start playing some football.
Oh, mate, this is a chore. It's a chore to talk about it. And I wanted to come on here tonight all sort of overjoyed and happy and think, you know what, brilliant, we have some hope. But there is no hope.
Hang on, mate. How long have you supported us?
Too long. Absolutely.
Well, you should know better then.
Yeah, but, but never have, you know what? Yeah, we've had times, obviously, darker than this. But when you've got great players that are capable of so much better,
we haven't got the great man anymore.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
And that's where we're stumbling.
Now I'm starting to wonder, maybe Eddie Howe carried certain players like Ryan Fraser doing crap at Newcastle as well. Now you're thinking,
well, yeah,
maybe he got the best out of him. Maybe he got the best out of the current crop that we've got. Maybe the players were just average players that would just perform for Eddie. We don't know. It's scary, and
Well, I don't think that's a fair point actually, because if those players that are now no longer with us playing elsewhere, are they playing anywhere near as good as they did for us?
No.
Like you've just said, Fraser isn't. Wilson, possibly.
Tyrone Mings is Tyrone Mings. He'll be all right.
Yeah.
He'll make the odd dodgy pass from the back, but I think his presence and his character and the fact that he's really good on social media means he gets less flack than most. Whereas Ryan Fraser makes vacuous apologies on Instagram. He deletes his Twitter account, and
I mean, look at the players we've got now. Like that were there last season. Lloyd Kelly, we thought he was great at Operation Restart, and now look at him.
Yeah.
Rico, I mean, God, that penalty today. He even saw him and still went in.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's just, and what, there was just a moment that just encapsulated so much actually in the first half, where Rico was on the ball, left wing in a relatively advanced position actually, and Lloyd Kelly was just coasting around him. It's like just burst, like you need to be going for broke, hell for leather to try to make that angle for him. But it's just like, oh, you know what? It's almost like if I make this run, it looks good and I did the right thing. But really, I don't want the ball. I want to be a decoy for Rico to do his own thing. And yeah, just so many little individual circumstances. And I hope they are analysing it to death. Like I said at the very start of the show, if we were there, you know, any kids watching would be hearing language a lot worse than what they heard tonight. And it would be directed at the players, and players would have, you know, they would be ashamed to be walking across that car park into the stadium, you know, like wearing the shirt. But anyway,
when I've got my kids in the ground, it's a it's a bit. They've heard some stuff.
yeah, I bet. Steve, thanks so much for coming on, mate.
Pleasure, buddy. Anytime.
Yeah, cheers, mate. So that was Steve Hensman. Remember, if you like this video, give this video a like. Frano said, didn't he? Frano said that it was a team of misfits, and it was a team of players that just absolutely gave their all. These lot aren't cut out for it. We know that. We've learnt that. And the frustration goes on week in, week out. I'm now no longer surprised. If you want to support this channel, you can buy us a coffee, afcbpodcast.com/coffee. Coming up on Sunday night, we've got an ex-manager and player that's got 9 letters in their name. He could possibly be a person that could actually get us out of this shit. Yeah.